All right, y'all. So I'm Justin, as I said earlier. Mr. Luis, he covered lead generation. I'm going to be covering acquisitions. Who can tell me, what does acquisitions mean? It's like some fancy phrase, big ass word. What does it mean?
To obtain.
To obtain, yes. We're acquiring something. So we want to acquire a property, right? Especially those lovely beat-up properties. We want to get the seller some thousands of dollars. We want to make thousands of dollars in return. So we know what acquisitions mean now. I'm going to be building the foundation for acquisitions, okay? And the foundation, so I want y'all to think of this house in your head. I love analogies. Think of this house in your head. It's got acquisitions on the top. And we're going to be building an acquisitions house. But we got to start with the foundation. And if our foundation is off, the whole house is going to be off. When trouble comes your way, when a hard month comes your way, your acquisition is going to fall over because you don't got the foundation, right? So with the foundation, there's two things that make up foundation. You got to have belief in yourself, and you got to have belief in what you're selling, right? So belief in self, like it sounds so cliche. Yeah, believe in yourself, but like, what does that mean? Like, what does it mean to believe in yourself? And for me, believing in yourself means you know it's going to work out. You may not know how it's going to work out, but I know for sure I'm going to make it happen, right? And when trouble comes my way, I'm still going to make it happen. I'm still going to keep going because I believe in myself. And I know it's going to come. And then another part of the foundation I talked about was belief in what we're selling. So like, when we think of wholesale real estate specifically, we think of it as, yeah, I do real estate, but really, you do sales and marketing. Mostly tons of sales, tons of marketing. And so while we're building this acquisitions house that I'm talking about, analogy, we talked about belief in ourselves. Now we gotta have belief in what we're selling. And we're not selling a specific shirt, or we're not selling iPhones, we're not selling a product, we're selling a service. And that service that we're selling is to the seller. Okay? And once you have the belief in that service that I'm selling, I got belief in myself. Oh, it's game over. You're going to the clouds. But you gotta have belief in yourself and belief in that service you're providing the seller. So one thing I wanted to tell y'all about the belief in yourself. Who can tell me what are the odds of being a human? 1 out of what?
Very small odds.
Very small odds. Someone throw a number out there. A little higher. A little more. No, not that high. So it's 1 in 400 trillion of you being a human. And we take that for granted. We wake up, maybe we go to work, you come back home next day. You do that over and over and over, and you forget, wait, there's a reason that I'm here. And it's 1 in 400 trillion. There's a reason you're here. There's a reason you're in this room right now. So don't forget, when you're on the call with the seller and you're like, oh my God, I don't know how to make an offer. Well, there's a reason you're here. So keep pushing, keep going, y'all. All right, so we built the foundation for our acquisitions house. Now we're building up. Now we're going to get into with acquisitions. You're going to have lots of conversations with sellers. And all these gurus, they want to make it sound all fancy. You got to say this phrase. You can't say this word. You can't say this. You got to blah, blah, blah. I want y'all to break it down when you're having acquisitions. All you're doing is just a conversation. You're just talking to another human being. That's it. You're just talking to another human being. And when you start getting in your head, oh my God, I'm talking to Joe, and Joe owns $1 billion house, and shoot, I'm still renting this small house. That's okay. You're just having a conversation. Stop getting in your head, y'all. Okay? You're just talking to someone. So we're building up the acquisition house. Now we're going to go when we're on the phone with the seller, because y'all may be doing every single marketing to avoid getting on the phone. Where does it all lead back to? The phones. So eventually you're going to have to get on the phone, and I'm going to tell you how you're going to talk to the seller. You're going to have your intro. Who can tell me what's the most important part of the call? First 10 seconds. You got the first 10 seconds because when the seller picks up, whether you just texted the seller, whether you got the lead from Facebook, whether you're driving for dollars, it's all leading to the phones. and you got 10 to 5 seconds to tell the seller who you are, why you're calling, and to build some credibility. You got to do those 3 things. I'm not going to tell you the exact way because we're all different in how we communicate. We all got different personalities, but the most important thing is if you do those 3 things in your own way, in your own personality, you're going to kill it, okay? So we got the intro of the call. Now we got the middle. We got to pre-qualify the seller. I got this fancy little acronym I say in my head, and it is call the McDonald's please. We got CTMP. C is for condition, so when we're on the call, we went through the intro, we're getting condition, we're getting timeline. When does the seller want to sell by? Is it next month, or do they want to sell in a year? Those are two big things that can really change your deal. We got their motivation. Do they want to sell just because they want to hear an offer? Or do they want to sell because maybe they just got divorced? Maybe they had a death in the family. Maybe they just inherited the property. And then we got P, what's their price? That's pretty important too. If the ARV is $350 and they want $550, it's probably not really going to be a wholesale deal. So we got the intro, we got the middle, and then we got the end of the call. This is where you're going to close the seller, okay? And a lot of the calls a lot of conversations we have with the seller, we may not get to close them in the way we want. But I'm going to give you some tips to help y'all get more deals. So we're closing the seller, right? Either we're going to be getting a signed contract, and when you get that signed contract, you're going to most likely be doing it virtually. I want you all staying on the phone with the seller, walking them through the purchase agreement, because if you hang up and say, hey, Mr. Seller, just sign it by the end of today, they're going to Google something, they're going to Google wholesale, and someone's saying wholesale is a scam, and you're not going to get your contract signed. So stay on the phone when you're on the seller. Stay on the phone when you're talking to the seller to close them. And then a lot of the times when we talk to these sellers, they don't want to sell their house. So we got one question that we got to ask them that's going to make you thousands. You can't forget it. So the seller says, just hell no, I don't want to sell my house. Stop calling me. I'm going to say, okay, Mr. Seller, you got any other property or land you consider an offer on? And they're going to say, well, I mean, I didn't want to sell the house I live in, but I got this vacant lot. I'm sure you don't want to sell it. Buy it. You're going to go, oh, yes, I do. Wait a second. Let me get some information. And then you're going to make some more deals that way. And then a little secret sauce I'm going to share with y'all. Nobody's doing. I call it the referral bonus. Okay, so first we got closing the call. Hopefully we get that contract. If we don't get it signed, that's fine. Hopefully we ask them, you got any other property or land? And if they say no to that, then I'm coming in with the referral bonus. Okay, Mr. Seller, I know you don't have any other property or land, but we got this referral bonus going right now. We're going to pay you $1,000 if you bring me a property or a piece of land from maybe your family or friends, and we close on it. You got them working for you for free. Come on, y'all. All right, and then I want y'all to remember, most importantly, sales is 90% belief. 90% belief. You gotta believe in yourself, you gotta believe in what you're selling, and just take as much massive, imperfect action as possible. There's things that I don't know, but I've learned that, especially from all these guys, the real people win, or the people keep going, even when they don't believe that they may not know the full answer. That's it. So got any questions? Question in the back.
So, more like a personal type question.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Being that you work a full-time job, you said, right? What does your schedule look like, or how do you deal with having a full-time job and having to do this as well?
Yeah.
Because I'm a full-time mom, and so I can't just get on the phone and start making a bunch of calls with my toddler beside me. It's not gonna go well.
Right.
So I'm just trying to figure out, how it is that people that actually have a full-time job, how are they able to manage all of this?
So I got a cold caller that calls for me like Monday through Friday from noon to 9, so that helps basically buy my time back. And then I also have there's this AI software I use, and it works like Sunday to Saturday, and it texts sellers. It helps with my follow-up, but it texts them. But honestly, I would still call. Even if your toddler's beside you, maybe they're asleep, maybe they're playing. I mean, I would call. And then I would be like brutally honest with sellers, it sells. Like I come here, I could say, I do this full time, blah, 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 but just be yourself. Hey, Mr. Seller, I got my toddler beside me here. Maybe that might help you get the deal over me because you got the toddler beside you and I'm just Justin with a golden noodle, so go for it. I would call if I were you. Yeah. I mean, what's the worst thing they're going to say? No? Next call? Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, you got this.
So I got a question. What books or podcasts you listen to stay motivated, then help push through tough times?
I listen to like YouTube, maybe like Conor McGregor motivation. I love hearing him talk when he was first coming up because he had that fire. Podcasts, I like Max Maxwell's podcast. And then like to get me right mentally and feel aligned. I like Wayne Dyer. He's like a self-help guy. But yeah. I mean, they all work. Yeah.
What was your question, Sid?
Oh, that was.
What was your question?
I was asking him what podcasts or books does he read to stay motivated and stay positive.
Oh,
Yeah.
And another book I'm reading right now is like How to Reprogram Your Subconscious Mind. That's the important stuff. Like whether you walk into a room and you subconsciously think like, do I got this or do I not got that? That's not your conscious mind. That's you. All the thoughts you've been telling yourself your whole life. I'm not good at math. I'm not good at talking to people. That's those thoughts you got to change.
What was that book again?
Like how to reprogram your like subconscious mind. And then like for anyone who's like first getting into business, real estate, Think and Grow Rich is amazing too. Yeah, that's got everything. Mr. Charles.
So did you, when you're having these calls,
Yeah.
are they usually 2-minute calls? I mean, a good call where you're gonna get a deal it's quick, right? It's 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You're gonna get out.
I try to stay at 5 minutes. If the seller, if I know I got the price, I got the motivation, and I know this probably isn't going to be a deal, I try to spend my time on the next seller.
So how long do those conversations that turn into deals usually end up being for you?
I mean, if we're getting the contract signed and everything, it can take up to an hour to like really nurture it. I mean, I was on one yesterday with Joey Bibbo. I don't know if y'all know him. It took us a whole hour. We had to build the rapport. We were talking about our grandmas, but I mean, it can take a while. But if you know it's a deal, I mean, don't rush. Sellers can feel like, I want that deal, I want that money, and they can kind of push them away. But I mean, treat them like a human. Like just what I said earlier, just another human you're talking to.
How do you introduce yourself? Do you introduce yourself as a wholesaler or as an investor?
I say, hey, my name is Justin. I talk about I got other financial partners. And then if they say, are you wholesaling? I say, most of the deals we do are wholesaling. But if you get the money that we talk about and you get it at closing, why does it matter? You're going to get the money. Yeah.
And you as somebody who actually buys houses, you can introduce yourself as a real buyer.
Yeah.
Because that's not a lot. Even if you're just wholesaling, like you're partnering with buyers to get this done. So it's not really, a problem to say I work with a company or I work with a group of investors that buys and sells houses, right? And that'll usually
Max Maxwell talked about when you go to the car lot and the car lot buys your car, you ask him, are you going to go back and sell this? Are you keeping it? It doesn't matter. Yeah. Any other questions? Cool.
That AI software that you talked about, is that something that you have proprietary or?
It's like a buddy I got in Kentucky.
Okay.
But I mean, if you want me to hook you up with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you to Mr. Charles.
All right, Dave. I know this is the vote that you all was waiting for.
All right, so